Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I'm a primitive screwhead.
And I'm Gary. And today we're taking a look at The Army of Darkness, which came out in 1992. Iain, wouldn't you give us the synopsis for Army of Darkness?
Well, at the end of Evil Dead 2, Ash had been sucked through the portal created by Annie using the Book of the Dead. He ends up going back to medieval England. I think it's medieval England, with the fact that the portal is time and space and can pretty much chuck him anywhere. And he ends up surrounded by knights and soldiers of an army looking to kill Deadites. They believe Ash to be a Deadite, but then come to the thought that he is actually the chosen one, sent to destroy the Book of the Dead and wipe out the Army of Darkness. But this is Ash we're talking about, and he is not exactly the smartest man on the planet, and unwillingly raises the Army of the Dead himself and has to fight them off in a castle.
You know that this film's different from the previous two in the series from the introduction, when it comes up on screen saying Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness. It's like, what sort of title card is that? And that is because the character of Ash and the actor Bruce Campbell have come a long way.
Yeah.
And they never realised when they were making Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2, what they had on their hands with the character of Ash. And so Ash was sort of in those films. Army of Darkness was written for the character of Ash. Yeah. They wanted to take the character of Ash and put him in situations. And for the character of Ash, he has dialogue in this film. He just doesn't have to scream and react to everything. He actually has lines of dialogue. They actually explore his character in this film. And you soon come to realise that Ash is a total dick.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants. I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but two things right now. Jack and shit. And Jack left town.
No! Ash is not a complete dick. He has, following the lineage of the Evil Dead series, Ash has come a long, long way. He started off as just a bumbling teen who, couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag.
I have to say, though, for the character of Ash, that was only 2 days ago.
Yeah, true. That is only 2 days ago. He then goes into Evil Dead 2, where he has to overcome his evil self while trying to fight off all these other things happening around him. You get to Army of Darkness, and Ash is just taking no more shit. He is sick and tired of being tortured and pummeled by the evil, so he is just going to chop it all up and shoot it with his shotgun, and he is not going to take any crap from any primates.
You know your shoelace is untied.
So, continuity aside of where they refilmed some of the shots for the recap to introduce into this one, it wasn't a case of they didn't have the rights to it. It was the fact that they decided to refilm things because the footage that they used in the second one didn't feel like recap material.
Yeah.
For instance, him cutting his hand off, they decided they needed to speed it up slightly and have a few different shots just to get the impression across. And I do love the fact that they got Bridget Fonda to play his girlfriend in the introduction. Apparently she came up to Sam Raimi and was like, I love Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, I want to be in your movie, but I've only got this time to work with, so there you have it.
Yeah. I love that retelling of Evil Dead 2. It's just really quick, and you've already sat through Evil Dead 2 and you sit there going, this is nothing compared to Evil Dead 2. But just to get you straight into the action, it's just quick, Here's the retelling, here's what happened to Ash, and then boom, we are in the medieval series. He gets the weapons taken off him, he gets dragged back. There's that whole narrative monologue of him telling you, the audience, that he is a slave and explaining to you his backstory. So I love this movie so much that you do not have to have watched Evil Dead 1 and 2 to watch Army of Darkness. Okay, yes, technically it would help, but the fact that they just go, here's what happened previously, now we're into Army of Darkness. And I'm like, I'm set. Go.
Strange one!
And we enter the absolute realm of ridiculousness here. we already saw the shot where he jumps up and grabs the chainsaw with his stump arm, which is okay. It's like superhero abilities here, and then he uses his belt, and I don't ever understand why he does this. And he manages to flick it around, catch onto the chain, and he uses, by holding onto his belt, to pull himself up. I don't understand why he just didn't grab hold of the chain and start pulling himself up.
Because it's Ash. He's so cool that to whip out his belt. I mean, I look at it that he whips up his belt so it halves the distance that he should have to go, because the belt is a lot further than his hand, so it's going to pull him up a hell of a lot quicker. But he's Ash. He's just badass. He's, like we said, he's just leapt up and stuck the chainsaw onto a stump in one fluid shot. He's taken the head off a Deadeye. He's fighting another one. The people up above the pit are in complete shock because nobody up to this point has survived that long against a Deadeye. Who the hell is this man? What weapons is he using? Is it magic? The whole medieval feature, I just think, is absolutely brilliant because Ash is actually the smartest person around him. And that's saying a lot, It builds up to just the one most phenomenal sequence for me in the whole history of cinema. I've seen a hell of a lot of good films. I've seen a hell of a lot of really, really bad shit films. None of them can compare to the double-barreled shotgun speech that Ash delivers in this film. I could do it word for word, but I'm going to let the man do it himself.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. See this? This is my boomstick!
After that sequence, you're sold. You know who this character is, and yeah, you get to see some of his bad traits there, but he's just pissed off, and he's had enough, and he is surrounded by primitive screwheads.
Shop smart. Shop S-smart. You got that?
I love the fact, though, that when he puts the shotgun on his back, there was no casing there. There was no cup for it to catch onto. So you'll notice that the camera zooms in on him. And then there's a couple of extras that run up behind him and they hold the gun and press it to his back to give the impression that he's just one-slotted it right into his back. Just
epic. Just epic.
Blow.
But I love that sequence. I mean, after he's delivered his speech,
they're feeding him grapes.
He's surrounded by maidens. And she walks up to him and she's like, I just want to apologise. And he's like, first you want to kill me. Now you want to kiss me. Spits a grape seed out and just looks at her and goes, blow. It's just like... And she probably would. She's probably sat there like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but you ask me to do anything and I'll do it. And I've always loved the fact, the first time I watched Army of Darkness, I just thought that the character of Ash... Because I watched Army of Darkness first before I went and watched Evil Dead 1 and 2. When I was younger and I saw this film for the first time, I just thought Ash was just such the coolest character that women could not fight against it. Later on, only a few years later, John St. John would actually take a few of Ash's one-liners from this film and apply them to Duke Nukem in the Duke Nukem 3D series.
Hail to the king, baby.
And then I was just like, that's amazing. Two of my most all-time favourite characters just have the same kind of attitude of, we kick ass and we don't care if you think we're douches, because when shit hits the fan, you're calling us.
Hail to the king, baby.
So we get to the main setup of the film where now that Ash is here and these wise men explain to him that evil is rising up across all the lands.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, they get attacked by the she-bitch. It was actually meant to be a much bigger scene in the film, but because of the budgetary restraints, it just became this small little action scene where you see a couple of the knights trying to fight the witch.
Yeah.
But then you really get to see... You've seen Ash be a dick, but then as soon as a Deadite turns up, He is doing gung fu.
Yo, she-bitch. Let's go.
The
Ash is
shotgun on the shoulder is amazing.
So he's a hero in those moments, and then so the wise men are like, you need to go and get the Necronomicon for us. You get the Necronomicon for us, we'll send you home. But you got to remember these 3 words, these 3 simple words: Klaatu, Veratu, Nikto. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, if you've seen The Day the Earth Stood Still, you should know those words.
So does he remember them?
Klaatu, Verata, Nikto.
Again!
I got it!
Yep, okay, so he's telling us he knows the words, and he rides off on horseback, quite awkwardly, it would seem. I don't think Ash has ever been on horseback before,
No.
let alone Bruce Campbell. And so he gets to the creepy windmill,
Yeah.
which for the director's cut, most of this was cut out of the movie. He sort of turns up there, gets attacked, and leaves pretty quickly. But in the extended cut, there's quite a lot that happens here.
Ramming speed!
It's like a dark version of Gulliver's Travels all of a sudden.
The mini Ashes, it's just amazing. And in the normal version, they only do a few things to him where they make him burn his face and they fire the shotgun at him and he slips up. In the extended version, there's like a whole fight sequence.
Yeah! Oh, you little bastards! All right, I'll crush each and every one of you. I'll crush you to paste, I'm telling you! I'll squash you so hard, you'll have to look up and down!
Hey, dumbass!
There!
And so when you watch the normal version, you see all these things that have happened to him, but you never know why.
Yeah.
You watch the extended cut and you go, oh, that's why he's covered in that, or that's why he's got those marks or those scars. And then Ash is stomping along, and the one of the little Ashes holds up a pin, and so he steps on it. That still makes me have the exact same reaction as Ash does when I watch the film.
My fair lady! Ha!
But before you know it, they overpower him, they knock him out, and he wakes up tied up.
Yeah.
And he is forced to swallow one of his own miniature himself. He manages to break free, and he goes over, and this is hard to watch.
Oh, it's brilliant
It
sequence.
is so hard to watch because you see that kettle, and there's steam coming out of it everywhere, and you just know by looking at it that it's probably red hot to the touch.
Yeah.
And he grabs it with his metallic hand and drink some of it. I'm like, you know, you scold, you'll burn your tongue, but you see his stomach sort of, you know, moving around, and you hear the death scream of the evil Ash inside him, and it's just like, that's horrible. And then what follows that is just as horrible. When he starts itching at his shoulder and he rips the shirt and you realise that he's got an eye growing out of it. And
Oh, dear God, it's growing bigger!
it follows there where he has a second head
Yeah.
come out and it starts tormenting him. And then before you know it, they start scuttling down the bank into the woods. And they're both punching at each other. The dialogue back and forth between them is great. Once they're finally separated and the two of them are staring at each other, and Evil Ash, the way he taunts him, is just fantastic. I love that sequence.
I'm bad, Ash. And you're good, Ash. You're goody little two-shoes. You're goody little two shoes, goody little two shoes. Little goody two shoes, little goody two shoes, little goody two shoes, little goody two shoes.
The birth of evil Ash. I mean, I always believe that in Evil Dead 2, Ash had the evil inside him, but he'd managed to fight it and kind of hold it down inside him and hope that it'd never come out. But with the mini Ash going inside him and dying, you know, it kind of forced the birth of evil Ash. And evil Bruce Campbell versus good Bruce Campbell, it's just epic. It should have won an Oscar, that sequence. It should have. Just the way, like you said, the way evil Ash is there tormenting him, doing the little dance and punching him in the face, and then he gets the double barrel shoved under his nose, and Ash is like, I'm not that good, and blows him halfway across the forest.
Well, there's a couple of different versions of that closing of that scene.
Yeah.
And so you've got this one.
Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
And then you got this one.
I ain't that good.
I prefer the one where he says, good, bad, I'm the guy with the gun. That's the one I prefer to go with.
I prefer any one where Ash says something. Ash takes evil Ash's body back to the windmill, and just like we've learned from all the other movies, dismemberment is the only way to deal with the possessed versions. And so Ash gets his chainsaw out and just chops up evil Ash. And the dialogue just doesn't stop there. Ash throws the body parts into a pit and goes to cover it in mud. And then you see evil Ash's head, like, you'll die in the graveyard before you get the book. And Ash is like, hey, what's that on your chin? And just throws mud on his face. And it's just like, who's getting tormented now? Eh? Yeah, that's how we deal with it. Then we take Ash to the graveyard, and he comes across 3 books.
3 books.
So now we're ready for some more comedy, as he just goes for the first book that's there, and the effect is pretty incredible as you see his arms and his fingers being sucked into this book before he disappears into it entirely.
Yeah.
And then it's just quiet. Just like, oh, that's it.
That's it.
Close up of the book, and slightly larger than it should be, and the page opens up and you see Bruce Campbell climbing himself out of the book with that face mask that's come straight out of Beetlejuice. And the effect of him shaking his head around and trying to put his chin back in, it's priceless. It's comedy gold.
Yeah. I mean, then he goes to pick up another book, thinks twice about that book, and grabs the other book. And the book comes alive and flies after him, and he just starts having this over-the-top stupid fight. I mean, how you can't laugh at these sequences, because you're already overcome with the fact that Ash is, you know, a bit of a douchebag, but his one-liners work. And then he's having these big fights with himself, and then he's coming across fights with books.
Possessed books. So, lo and behold, he realizes that those 2 wrong books.
Yeah.
And he knows that this is the book that he needs. And so all he's got to do now is remember those 3 little words.
Yeah.
And he can't remember the 3rd word. It's definitely an N-word.
Noodle. It's an N-word. It's definitely an N-word. It's definitely an N-word.
So he kind of blunders his way through it and and picks up the book anyway. And the moment he does, the evil in the graveyard, the force, wakes up. And it wakes up the entire graveyard for one of the most memorable sequences in the film, where you've got the music playing, the tombstones are popping off and flying up into the sky,
Yeah.
and you've got all of these skeletal arms coming up out of the ground. Again, it falls back into comedy, though, because it's not before long where he's tripped up and you've got all these skeleton arms punching him in the face, poking him in the nose, poking him in the eye,
Punch him in the crotch.
punching him in the crotch and sticking their fist right in his mouth.
I always loved Jason and the Argonauts.
Absolutely, yes.
You know, I always loved
the Ray Harryhausen effects of doing these skeletons.
Stop motion. It's just absolutely brilliant. And having this army, you know, I loved the medieval feature of this film, just because it was a different view. You know, yeah, okay, it's a horror movie, or it's supposed to be,
but it is also a medieval fantasy.
But it's a medieval fantasy, and everybody, you know, at the age I am now, a lot of people love RPGs now, role-playing games with medieval fantasies and things like that. And so seeing all these guys in all of the, I wouldn't say traditional garb, but, you know, garbed up to be like knights. Then you have the skeleton army. It's a massive good versus evil battle. Only on a small scale because the budget wasn't so big.
That's true. I think the budget was about 13 million.
Yeah.
Which still, granted, is more than the other two films combined, but it allowed them to bring in some extra talent to do all of those skeletal effects. I mean, you've got men in suits as well in the background, as well as having these skeletons imposed on top of the film. But it's just breathtaking. But what I love about these skeletons is their personalities.
Oh, yeah.
I love the scene where the skeleton gets smacked across the back of the skull and he turns around and says, "Thank you, sir."
I'm about violence. I shall command every worm-infested son of a bitch that ever died in battle. You, sir. You there, handsomely now. We shall storm their castle and get my book.
You know, I love it when the skeletons have got these naked ladies in chains and they're dragging them away. And it's just like, I love all the personalities of these
That's
undead.
it. The skeletons. You know, you might get thinking that, okay, they're just superimposed and one will just look exactly like the other. But then you hear one talk and then the next one talk and realise that they've got different accents. You know, there's actually different ranks among the skeletons where some are just normal soldiers, where others are sergeants. You know, they've all got bows and arrows. You've got the evil dead guys in suits. And then on top of that, you have evil Ash with his queen, Sheila.
I may be bad, but I feel good.
Sheila, up to this point, has been kidnapped, and when she is thrown in front of evil Ash, and he's there, he just literally acts like Ash, but the evil form, you know, and he's trying to kiss her and rub his tongue on her face, and but then when she turns evil and she stood there, she does look quite sexy, actually.
I'll give you that. Yeah. And that's what brings me to Danny Elfman's soundtrack for this film. I mean, he didn't do the music for the whole film, but he made the March of the Dead.
Yeah.
And that piece of music, accompanied with the visuals of the band members, of the skeleton band members.
Yeah.
You see them with the bagpipes, you see them with the drums. It's just so memorable. It's just, you still haven't seen anything like that. The music, though, throughout the rest of the film is also absolutely fantastic. It helps you believe that medieval fantasy setting. It delivers the chills when he first goes to the graveyard.
Yeah. And
you've got the eerie music, the sound effects. It just builds everything so well. It gives that otherworldly feel to the whole film. But again, to Danny Elfman's soundtrack, building up on that battle sequence as the dead are marching in, fantastic.
Yeah, the final battle is, I mean, yeah, it's no Helm's Deep, but it was at least 20 years before Helm's Deep. You know, I want to go into detail on it, but at the same time, you just got to see it for yourself. If you've already seen it, you know what I'm talking about. The fact that you've got skeletons coming from one side with a battering ram, skeletons coming from another side with wooden planked shields, Ash is up there with his explosive arrows that he's managed to construct for the guys.
I love the fact that when they finally open the boot of the classic car,
yeah,
and it is filled with ammunition, it's filled with Chemistry 101 and steam-powered workshop guides, and it's just like...
Well, you got to remember, he was a student in the first one.
Yeah, but they're probably library books. He's probably long overdue.
Yeah, that's it. And luckily, he was carrying them because he turns his car into a 20th century death machine to use against skeletons. Granted, he only uses it for about 20 seconds before Sheila turns up, but it still looks cool on camera and the skeletons.
Now, interestingly though, Sam Raimi doesn't like this part of the film.
Okay.
Because it's not the Ash that he wanted to create. Ash, at this point in the film, becomes super competent. He's no longer the inept anti-hero, because he's like, right, you guys, I'm going to give you weapons training. You guys, I'm going to show you how to make dynamite. It's understandable that the character of Ash is, it kind of wish-washes from being that loudmouth braggart to actually becoming the hero only when the dead turn up.
Yeah.
But the thing is, tonally, he does shift a little bit because he does become a hero. And it is odd where you've seen him not really be that character until this moment.
I say we stay here and fight it out.
Are all men from the future loud-mouthed braggarts?
Nope. Just me, baby. Just me.
For me, what makes Army of Darkness so amazing is after the big battle sequence, Ash is given the Necronomicon to the Wise Men, and they have created a potion for him to take and to sleep until his proper time. Now, for me, back in 95, I think I got to watch this. Finding out a film had 2 endings was like gold. It's like gold had fallen from the sky. For the first time I'd seen it, I got the ending with him in S-Mart. And it's the one ending that has always stuck with me because I thought it was absolutely amazing. I'm not taking away anything from the other ending. Ash takes the potion and oversleeps the centuries and wakes up, and there's been like a nuclear apocalypse.
Yeah. Sam Raimi prefers that version of an ending because Universal Studios told him he has to film another ending because Universal didn't want the film to end on a downer.
Yeah.
So Sam Raimi was forced to go and do that, which is another reason why he didn't like it. But the other reason was because it makes Ash competent again.
He's supposed to be!
He's supposed to be an idiot, and that's why he's an idiot enough to take the wrong amount of drops. That's Sam Raimi's Ash. So it's understandable that he would not like him to take the right amount of drops, go back to his normal time, and kick ass some more.
Yeah.
Now, granted, we know with the multiple endings for this film where he either does go to the S-Mart and keeps his job and kicks ass, or whether he goes into an apocalyptic future where he slept too long, yet might still find a way to get back in time. The continuity there from that point, either into the video game sequels or into the Ash versus the Evil Dead that we're about to see, we still don't know which continuity that's coming from because it's 30 years later.
Yeah.
So he might have just gone into that ending and done his job to this point.
Travelled back.
Or he might have gone to the future and still managed to come back with even more stories to tell. It doesn't matter which ending you follow. They're both great. They both sort of take Ash to another level where your imagination can fill in what he's been up to for 30 years before we finally get the sequel to Army of Darkness.
That ending in the S-Mart is just fucking awesome.
I'll swallow your soul!
Come get some.
I mean, I used to have discussions with people if he could actually fire that many rounds from his rifle. And we actually figured that he actually could. A rifle like that can hold up to 30 rounds. And that's how many rounds he fires. And then the final line, "Hail to the king, baby." How many girls and women I have gone up to and said that line to. I used it on my wife. I had to.
Wasn't your wife at the time.
No. She did become my wife.
Hail to the king, baby.
Favourite scenes. If you've seen Evil Dead 1 and 2, you know that literally this whole film is just one massive elongated scene for me. But I absolutely just love the shotgun speech at the beginning with Bruce Campbell. It's just awesome. It keeps me hooked. The way he's describing the shotgun to the people, the way that they look at it and are looking interested into buying it because they've never seen anything like it before. It's just absolutely awesome. Second favourite scene, the mini Ashes torturing Ash extended version or director's cut version, it doesn't really matter. It's a brilliant special effect, and the way that Ash reacts to them. You know, like we said, this is before blue screen and CGI. This is all just prosthetic effects, and it's just absolutely awesome. In the graveyard, Ash being grabbed by the skeleton arms when he takes a skeleton arm to the mouth and then he gets punched in the nuts by another one. It's just the way. It's awesome. Number 4, Evil Ash and the Skeletons. The army is just, it's just brilliant. Good versus evil. It's just, they're all so iconic. They're all individual. The final fight between Ash and Evil Ash is just absolutely brilliant. It's better than Vader versus Luke Skywalker. And then the 5th one, the Hail to the King Baby ending. Just the way that Ash is just amazing.
I'm trying to think of a singular favourite one moment in the film, and I just can't. Bruce Campbell has just... He is so much into the character of Ash that he's just mesmerising from start to finish. You want to facepalm every time he does something stupid, and you want to cheer with him whenever he gets one up on the evil. There's so many gags throughout the film. I love the graveyard sequence the first time he goes there, the gothic nature of it, the music, the skull on the side slowly opening its jaws, all of the scenes with the Deadites, all the scenes with the skeletons. I really don't have one favourite moment. I love the entire film. It's so memorable. You'll end up, whilst you're watching... If you're a fan of Army of Darkness or the Evil Dead franchise, Army of Darkness is the one film of the 3 that you'll probably be able to quote word for word throughout the film, because that is where the character of Ash has really become an icon in horror and in cinema.
Yeah.
As a result, it's obvious, I highly recommend Army of Darkness. It is a goofball, silly movie. It is horror, comedy, fantasy, medieval. It is such a weird mesh of all these genres, and it is crafted by what I would consider one of the masters of the horror genre, Sam Raimi, who knew what he was doing going into this, and they had fun making it. Yeah. Yes, they also had problems with budget and with Universal being on their backs. Even Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell actually paid a third of their own money into the film in order to keep it to make it happen, to get that film out there.
Yeah.
And from people that are not fans of horror films or even not a big fan of the Evil Dead films, I've tried to get people that have never seen any of these films into the Evil Dead franchise, and they still don't know who Sam Raimi is or Bruce Campbell is, and it's one of those things where you grow and appreciate the Evil Dead franchise and Army of Darkness the more you become aware of who it was that made these films, how they made these films, and the relationships that they still have with each other since these films. Just builds your appreciation for this franchise above and beyond anything else that is studio released. Hell yeah, I recommend Army of Darkness.
I cannot recommend this film enough. I own t-shirts of Army of Darkness. I have Ash's character tattooed on my body. I'm not going to tell you where. I have played all of the games. I have watched all of the films. I have followed the careers of Sam Raimi and Rob Tapper and especially Bruce Campbell throughout the whole time that I've had conscious thought. I know I can't convince you to go out there and watch it. Just don't hate on it. If you have never seen any of the Evil Dead films, just watch Army of Darkness. It's absolutely amazing, groundbreaking, funny. It just fills you with cocky emotions that you want to be Ash, or it just fills you with happiness that there is somebody out there who can play a character like that. Highly, 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 highly recommended.
Groovy.
Oh man, it was a little bit emotional there.
Yeah. I'm all about emotion.
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.